Not the best
Yeah.
controllers in the world. Not the best.
We are live, apparently. Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing?
Good.
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 Good morning.
Good morning.
Testing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Great to
Night.
see you.
Good night.
How many people have been hanging out all day doing the whole slumber party thing?
Yeah.
At least a bit of it. No?
Not all of it.
A little bit.
Sorry, I was testing.
Last night. Well,
Nice.
this morning.
Last
Yeah.
night.
Well, yeah, midnight from. So I'm still up. So yeah, when it started.
Nobody's got.
Oh,
any
did it
sleep.
start midnight our time?
Full
I thought
12
it
hours.
started like
Yeah.
9 a.m. our time.
Midnight UK.
Midnight UK? Yeah.
Yep.
That's when it started.
Yep.
Okay, I had my timings way off then because I thought it was supposed to start at like 9 a.m. this morning. That's why everybody
I
was so
very caught
fired
off
up
by
already.
by the timing for it too.
Yeah.
So I think.
No,
The times that
people have
you
been
saw were
on fire
PST,
all
I
day.
think.
Huh?
On fire.
I think the times
they're
you
on
saw
fire.
were
They're combusting.
PST.
Oh my god, what's happening?
Oh. No, I thought it was midnight PST. Yeah, that must have been it. I thought it was midnight PST. Oh,
Oh, right, okay.
you waving at yourself?
Yeah. Hi, Bob.
Yeah, I thought it was midnight PST, I guess, which would have been maybe 9 a.m. our time, I think. That's right. Probably is about right. But yeah,
Why
Anyway,
are you flying? That's the question.
I actually like this. It's very zen. Like,
oh yeah, that's where most people have been hanging out. To answer your question, Pony, I hit the 0G button before anybody came in. So I'm sitting here
That's fair.
enjoying 0G and no one else gets any. So I can
zero.
just
No G. You got all the G's. He's got none G's.
That's right. Oh boy.
Yeah, we're the G's.
Yeah. He's gone.
Where the G's at?
I'm happy sat down
We're
here
the
then.
minus ones.
Whoops.
Can you hear my fan through the mic?
No, you're good. There's no extra sounds.
Anchor myself in.
Tell me if you hear that.
There we go.
Mute
Fly to the
yourself.
moon. How
Just
many?
do the whole event like that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say how many cups of sugar does it take to get to the moon?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mhm.
sticking all sorts of different things. Snowman have got serious connotations here on Banter for a sec. I didn't know what you were going to come out with there. It would have been, yes, but equally as popular amongst the kids of the time, I'm sure. What's Bob singing over there? Nice. Well, for those of you who are just kind of getting up and getting on with the day, yeah, we've got Banter Highlights, which is on later. Not on Saturday this week because I didn't fuck the times up this time. So let's see if I screwed up the video editing. Plus, I'll tell you right now that Lee's song is the edgiest he's produced yet.
Ooh.
So edgy, I'm going to have to come up with new kinds of disclaimers before we start the event
Yeah.
today. So
Nice. Edgy.
that's all
Like,
I'll
what
say
kind of
about
edgy?
that. That's
Like
definitely
rap
something
edgy or metal edgy?
to keep an eye. Huh?
Like rap edgy, like hip hop edgy, or metal edgy?
No.
Ah,
Explicit
just in
lyrics.
just explicit topics, let's say,
Oh,
and
So-
things that
Banter
are
edgy.
banter edgy. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes, that's right.
But in a cleanish way. I mean,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
clean, guys. Don't worry, it's all good.
not
It's all
too
just
out
suggestion. It's all suggestion. But for those of you who will get the jokes, they will make you laugh. That much you can be assured of. Oh, right. Well, look, I'll tell you what. Why don't we just do the usual thing that we do for this, or get it out of the way anyway? But typically the idea of this event is that you can ask questions about making spaces. two things I always point to is this is the website behind me, bantervr.com. And in the top right corner, two of the most important links are the docs and the Discord. And you all know why, because you've all been here loads of times and heard that loads of times. So I'm sure you're sick of hearing it by now. But yeah, the gist is generally that if you want to ask me a question, you can make your way up this little podium. And then I'll try to answer the question. And until people start asking questions, I'll just continue to waffle. So Lee is going to have a segment this week on his dogs. You can look forward to that at Banter Highlights. There's a whole 90-second piece where Lee is going to update us on the latest developments with what's going on with those dogs in his life. But in the meantime, go ahead, Pony. What can I do you for?
I've got to ask, how's the STK V2 coming on? Drifting.
SDK V2 is coming on really nice. A lot of what we've been focusing on this week is trying to get our ducks in a row for visual scripting, right? I think visual scripting is going to be a big deal for a number of people. So that's been where our
me.
focus has been for most of this week. And honestly, it's almost exactly as we described it last week. It turns out Spatial, who are trying to achieve a very similar thing using visual scripting, have got a great little SDK that's fully open source and MIT licensed. So we're having great fun digging through that and seeing what stuff we can potentially adapt into Banter, which is great, right? There's a lot of ways we can save time there by replicating a lot of what they've done. So that should hopefully make that process a bit smoother and give us a much better output on it. So yeah, honestly, mostly this week has just been studying what Spatial is doing, looking at what we want to do, getting some basic prototypes in place, mostly around visual scripting, right? But there's very few items left on the list now. For me, finishing out this paintball demo is really probably the biggest ticket item, whereas everything else is in pretty good shape. And yeah, I would say that within 2 weeks before that demo is available, we'll probably have an early SDK available for a couple of you as well. So yeah, once we can get the last little bits of polish onto some documentation and finish up where we are, maybe with visual scripting, one or two other small little bits that won't take very long, I'm sure, and we'll be ready to share it. So I'm hoping you'll be eager to have a play with it.
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Awesome. Cheers, Pony. Go ahead, Lee.
So it's not a question. Just how's Namiso doing?
Doing great. So this is kind of the end of their first week, and how the first week typically goes for somebody starting in SideQuest is that it's a complete write-off. We're a remote
Nice.
company, so the first week is more about just getting to know the rest of the team and getting to know each other. But yeah, we've already got a bunch of ideas. We've already been prototyping some stuff and getting to know the project, right? That's been a big part of what this week has kind of been about. But yeah, starting from next week, we're going to actually lay out a plan. And it looks like one of the first things we're going to be doing is looking at the basics of the physics character controller as something for us to potentially rebuild as a starting point for the rest of an isolated avatar system that would be completely overhauled, right? So I think one thing we're particularly excited about right now is experimenting with how we can find a balance between calculating various elements of IK as well as networking, right? One of the biggest things we want to do with this, of course, is squeeze more performance out of things. So it's a great opportunity to rebuild things, to have things be specifically built for purpose rather than a more generic solution. So yeah, the physics character controller, we're probably going to use a lot of what Hexabody does as kind of a guide or a base for where we're going. That's what our current character controller is, but we also want to try to open the door for improved versions of what we've already got, right? So maybe the Spider-Man mechanic could be getting an improvement. We're looking at integrating the flight system in future as well, which I had a call with those guys actually just a couple of days ago, and they estimate about a month until that's ready. So yeah, I'd say things are going pretty much about as well as they could do on that front. You know, with anybody new kind of getting in, there's always a bit of time to kind of get up to speed. And yeah, I'd say we're doing pretty well. What do you think on that front, Bob?
Yeah, great. Blew my mind. First week, even if it was a write-off, started laying down the grounds for our next step on the character controller and the details of what they're putting in there. I'm just like, yep. You know, I did my own little wish list of things that I liked, and then it just made me look like I was writing a nursery rhyme compared to what they were doing. So yeah, that's
wow.
that's the kind of level that we're talking about here. So yeah, we're yeah, I can't yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. Basically, yeah, it's gonna be great.
Right on.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Everything that you like now
yeah,
and more is gonna be there.
exactly. I mean, we want to try
Yeah.
and make things a bit easier in some cases, right? Because we want to maybe have you know, two areas, for instance, for us to focus on is, you know, a better ability to throw objects, right? Things are always a bit awkward with this character. You try and throw something, it just kind of lands on the ground in front of you. Uh, and also a better ability to be able to kind of climb up or clamber up over edges, right? With the way this character is built, the ball for the locomotion kind of has to be big, but it kind of means it gets in your way. So looking at ways to, you know, reinvent that, or if not reinvent it, looking at ways to, you know, be a bit more strategic with that and see if there's ways we can kind of get that out of the way. But yeah, I mean, like Bob said, even though it is just the first week, already a lot of planning has been done, and there's a lot of information has already been kind of collated together in the form of, you know, the basis for some stories and some tasks to kind of prioritize and start building. I'm hoping as well. It seems like NIMSO is open to it. Maybe not right away because we'll want to just get stuff settled first. But I'm hoping maybe we could have something like a regular sort of sync up with the community, maybe once a month, where we could demonstrate what cool stuff we're working on, and whether that demonstration is through you know, sharing your screen like we would do typically, which probably might make more sense in the early days, but once mechanics start to flesh out, we can probably bring stuff in here, even if it's not attached to our avatar. I'm sure we can bring in avatar objects, experiment with them, push them around, get to see how they're going to generally behave when it comes to the new locomotion, right? And then eventually we'll be able to put them on ourselves and actually test them out and see a lot of this new stuff happening. I hope, you know, in real time, assuming we don't mess it up. The
Right.
idea might be that we push an update just before a showcase event showing the new fancy avatar character controller features, let's say, right? Hey,
Right.
Zeppi, I'm assuming you've got a question there.
Oh, hi, yes, I do. So I mean, it's not a big deal, but just the whole thing with the screencasting. That does the Windows 11 Auto HDR mess with it? Because it seems very overblown. That the whole like image, like it's very contrasty, like super bright, and like that's how I was doing this, the helping with with the Switch and all that with the Moonlight. I was like using some of that just so to show them what I'm seeing. It was like a really weird experience. It was like, you know, like Inception stuff. I love that. Just trying to like layer things on top of it. Okay, what was my question again? Oh, sorry, yeah, it was about the contrast of the screencasting on SideQuest.vr. GitHub. All right.
That's a good question. I could certainly take a look and see what options there are. But
It
yeah,
might be
I'm honestly not
the
aware.
auto
It's
HDR
not,
thing, right? It doesn't
could
look the
be.
same as like what I'm seeing. It's always like overblown. I don't know if that's the Windows 11 thing. I have a lot of problems with Windows 11, so it's probably that. Always blame it on the Windows 11. Yeah.
Does it look like oversaturated, or does it just
Yeah,
look
I mean the screenshot that I
washed
put
out?
in the general of on the Switch, it looks like that even on a monitor too.
Gotcha.
and in game too as well, like in the loving the space. It looks very. I don't know if it's my settings, like as in like auto HDR, because like this Windows 11 8 auto HDR is kind of glitchy. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks.
It could be. I kind of remember a similar thing happening with somebody who was streaming over Discord. That every time they would stream, it would come up and the colors and everything would be washed out. Right? It was like the difference between
Yeah,
linear
that's what
and
I'm seeing.
gamma kind of color spaces. And yeah, I mean, it
Mhm.
sounds like things like HDR options could be
Yeah.
possible causes of that. But what I would do if I was you, I would just try some streaming over the likes of Discord.
That's
and see if
what
it's
I
also
do with
affected.
Vanquisher and stuff like that. We do that. I know. I kind of like the screencast. 'Cause it's nice to have this nice big thing in your room, like in your space, like playing what you're seeing on your monitor. It's just fun for testing purposes.
Sure.
Testing,
Well, like I say, you want to see if the same thing happens with Discord, right? That's a process of elimination to.
It seems to run Discord way better. That's weird. It's how does it
Sure.
know? Oh. Does the website actually able to like adjust its own like color settings? Twitch.
That I'm not sure of. That I'm not sure of, if I'm honest.
Oh,
I
true.
wouldn't have.
Okay.
I wouldn't have thought that was the default. Let's say.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm pretty sure the settings on the screen sharing are using the default. I mean, maybe I just need to dig in a little bit more on what you're trying to do.
It
Yeah.
probably is just the audio HDR thing. I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool
Okay.
beans.
Cool beans.
Cheers, Zeffy.
Cheers.
For anyone who's unaware, Zeffy's name is now on the list with the rest of the avatar portals that are
Yeah.
in your menu. So if any of you are looking to check out some cool outfits from Zeffy, you can do that.
Thank
Zeffy's
you
got
very
lots
much
of
again.
popular
Thank you.
outfits.
That was amazing. I don't know. Fire Rat helped me with that. I was hesitating. I was like, I kept saying to him, I'm not sure if I'm ready for it to be up there. And he's like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. I'm like, no, I don't know. And then he's like, he just asked for it. I'm so happy. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm very, very, very.
Nice one. Yeah, I'm gonna just pretend like Peroxide has a question and megaphone him since he's
I
down.
kind of do because I came in late, so I'm wondering why are you flying?
Because you came in late. Because
Oh,
everybody came in
oh.
late.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
I turned off the gravity
It's all
to
your
just
fault.
myself, and that meant
Oh,
that
lovely.
You make him high.
I was
You make-
floating
you
around
make
before
Shane
any
high.
of you guys.
Peroxide,
Yeah.
Shane high.
I do have that effect on people. Yes.
The button's just up
Yes.
there if you want to do it.
There you go.
Yes, everybody can be 0G. I mean, yeah. I mean, why not? We've got nothing better to do, right? Right, 2D Bob. That's right, Bob.
Hang on. See, he agrees. See, look at that.
There he goes.
Dirty dirt. Did that do it for everyone?
Dirty dirt.
Now,
Yep.
the rest of the
Oh,
event shall be as such.
Woo.
It's always
Floating
gonna be,
event.
Yeah, Carl Papa, right?
You can turn it off locally up there if you wanted.
I actually like the song
Yes.
now. At first it was like, and now I like it. Like you made me
It
love
grates
the
on
song.
you,
So,
doesn't it?
Yeah. At first I didn't.
I can't control it very well.
To be honest. And now I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Enjoy your trip. Still have a little bit of gravity.
yeah.
Oh, nope.
Yeah, because
Did you,
everybody hates when I put
Easy.
Crab Rave on. So I love Crab Rave. You know.
Just jump. Hit your
Oh no, I can't. Oh, I'm going up. I just can't control it.
Oh no.
I need a flap.
Ah!
There you
That's
go.
right.
Oh.
That's
So
us.
would we be able to possibly grab stuff like Half-Life Alex? Like
Yes,
click
absolutely.
on
That's
it
something we
and then
already
wave your
talked about.
hand?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
force grab, kind of. Yeah, much more improved kind of force grab. Yeah,
I
I
got a
mean,
question.
look. Yeah, go ahead.
maybe. Oh no, go ahead. Finish your sentence.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say that as we look at re-engineering this, we're looking at Spider-Man and Force Grab and maybe how those things could work together. And we're kind of looking at how like Phoneworks mods to Spider-Man, where you can grab onto an object, and as you're swinging around, you swing the object around you at the same time, and you end up doing all these kind of crazy things. But I mean, there could be a force grab that's kind of integrated into that. I don't know if it would be a separate thing. Maybe there's an opportunity to kind of make it all one big thing. So Spider-Man and force grab are kind of all in one.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Whoops. But yeah, go ahead, Megan.
So when I was on last night, something came up. I was trying to click a button in this one space, and I could not see for the life of me where I was pointing. You know how
Yes.
in Alt Space we used to have that light beam or something that used to shoot
Yes.
off. Is there possible to have an option for that?
Yeah, that's something
So we
we're
know where it's
working on
shooting?
replacing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I
we've already
couldn't.
got a
I thought I
replacement
kept
version for that.
pressing it and it wasn't working. So
Yeah. Well, we've got a new pointer interaction that's coming with the new menu, right? So it's two-handed and it's got a better visual for the line, let's say, that you're pointing on. So yeah, in
oh,
short,
awesome.
totally.
Woohoo,
That's
left-handed
definitely on the way.
controls. Yay.
Left-handed controls, exactly.
Fucking left.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got right now anyway, there's a few sort of still sort of nasty bugs, let's say, we're trying to hunt in the wild, but we're focusing on trying to reproduce those right now. And while we're doing that, menu is in full swing, and we've been focusing really hard on the new menu. And yeah, that's something that yeah, hopefully in the next, I don't know, 6 weeks maybe we can materialize that and have the whole new menu in there, right? So that'll replace the whole cursor system and hopefully be a lot easier to use, because I totally agree with you. It is sometimes hard, especially with like buttons on the video player from a distance.
Yeah.
But thankfully, you've got buttons on the back of your hand in most cases, so that makes it a bit easier. But yeah,
Or will there be a way to possibly control audio when somebody is streaming, like their own screen?
I don't know what you mean.
Should I
So
jump
last
on the
night.
Shane?
Oh, go ahead. Who said that?
So Cube.
Oh, hi.
So far between me and FireRat and Herbera as well, we've sat down and we've worked on implementing some buttons for video control, and we've implemented it into a tablet form. So anything what happens through that screen, we can scale, we can mute and control volume. If that's very much what you're interested in it for, is that we can now control audio.
Yeah. So
Oh, I
last
think I
night
get you.
at the
You're referring to
event,
the
Faye was
actual
sharing
streamer
her
thing that we've got,
screen.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, Faye was sharing her screen to play something, and it was super loud, but she was the only one that could control the volume, I guess, on her side.
Yeah, like
Yes.
Yeah, the screencasting. Yeah, that.
Yeah, it's different than Dead Zed and Pyrat made this awesome player that's like literally a tablet, so like an iPad. Like,
But yeah, as
That's
of
cool.
so far, I believe me, Hubber, and Fire are working on the final touches before we release it more to public kind of
That's awesome.
open use. But because we found a few little things we want to touch up and we want to kind of make it as easy as possible to use.
That's cool.
Yeah, there you go.
Can't wait.
Yeah, that
yeah, it's very nice. very nice.
extended browser those guys have built should work for the streaming, and therefore it should introduce volume controls on the streaming. It should work, hopefully, just like that. I don't know if you guys have tested that or not. I guess the only thing.
Yeah, it does have.
Yeah, it's all been tested. It's currently available within the Twitch space that you control the volume in there better, as well as Banter games that you could play games and control volume as well.
Gotcha. Yeah,
You know
I
what?
guess just
it's
as long
funny
as
'cause
there
I
is
asked
a
question before, I didn't need to.
video or an audio source that they can kind of hook into there. Yeah, I'm not too sure if the streaming creates those elements, but if you guys tested it and it works, then yeah, that's all that really matters. But regardless, even if that's not the case, then yeah, I'm sure we can build volume somehow in the future into the streaming solution. There's a bit of TLC the streaming system needs, I think, in general, to try and root out some bugs that just started happening randomly a little while ago. So I'm sure once we can get a lot of these other things out of the way, there's a few things we'll probably want to try to tie up around video and streaming video overall. I'm sure we're probably going to want to try and create a video player that can replace the many different video players that we have in use on the platform now, and try and kind of consolidate things into one. So yeah, yeah. Right now, the focus is on just trying to get things as clean and polished as possible. So I would say that the solution the guys are working is probably the best thing that you're going to have in the very short term. But once we can kind of get a lot of that stuff polished on our end, then this is the sort of thing that we'll be able to prioritize as well. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So
When people are streaming, I do recommend that they knock it down to like lower than 20%, because that's what I normally have to do when I'm streaming. There you go.
yeah,
But yeah, you shouldn't have to do that.
nice. Yeah, so I guess it's waffle time again. This is where I just say random shit. For those of you that have joined us late, oh, go ahead, Shoseki. Yes. That is a great question. Sync objects kind of always present an interesting challenge there, in that once they get created, they should ideally be automatically created for everybody else's client as well. So in theory, there's no such thing as a synced object that doesn't exist on everybody's client. But yeah, I mean, synced objects and generally networking overall is something that also requires a bit of TLC once we've got a few other big ticket items out of the way. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason why you can't create networked synced objects, with the understanding that creating them on one client should, in a normal situation, create them on other clients as well. Now, I know there are a few issues with synced objects right now, especially with a lot of the updates that we've done, that sometimes reloading the space can mess synced objects up, because you technically haven't left the networked space at that point, but objects have been destroyed and recreated for you, which kind of creates a bit of a split brain situation. But yeah, that's, like I say, one of the things that we need to resolve with some work on the networking system overall. But yeah, to your original question, yeah, there's no reason why you can't spawn those objects. Yeah, no problem. Go ahead, Three-Eyed Tiger.
Okay, I have a technical question. With the SQ browser type of entity, is there any way to control the distance of the audio emitting from it, or is it just global?
That's a good question. So the problem there is being able to control that across all platforms, because that's where the problem lies. You can control it when it comes to Windows, but when it comes to Android-based devices, there is no global volume that the operating system exposes when it comes to the system web view, right? Which is kind of what we're talking about there. But the guys we were talking about earlier, they've created an extended browser that does give you extended ability to control the volume. They've come up with a way to inject some extra script into the pages that will find any audio or video sources and set that volume for you. So with that in mind, it would be fairly possible, fairly easy, let's say, to create a little script that would be able to track the position of the player and the position of the browser, use that distance to control the volume. That's basically how the video player does it. whenever it has that spatial distance based audio. So yeah, absolutely, it's definitely possible.
Thank you. Very good answer. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and kudos to the guys for finding such a generic solution that works, right? Across, I would say most things.
Touche.
But yeah,
Yeah, they've even got a lock solution and a resizing button. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, really cool. So yeah, I'm sure that putting a couple of these things together, we can probably patch something together pretty quickly that has a lot of these features, right? And there's probably an opportunity to do that. Like I say, I imagine in the future, we're going to try and build a more robust video player that can support maybe multiple video streaming sites, not necessarily just YouTube. Might support direct video playback. We might even build a little native video player that can do that with the least possible performance impact as well, right? So you've just got a video player only and no actual browser as such, right? That's always going to be a lot lighter on in certain scenarios. And it would also have the ability to play direct video files, right? So direct links to videos rather than just through the likes of YouTube or any other kind of streaming services like Vimeo or any of the rest of them. So, but the current video player is YouTube only. The browser supports HTML5 video, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So we may do something like that similarly, but yeah, maybe there's a video player light, right, with probably certain caveats. Like you would have typically with Unity-based video players, but there might be an opportunity in the future to have a synchronized video experience without having to have a browser in the space, let's say, which could be certainly interesting. And yeah, could open up more headroom if you didn't want to have a whole browser in your space. You could reserve more of that overhead for the space itself, let's say. I don't know. These are just options, and we have a number of other things that could also be integrated here, like YouTube live streaming kind of has the same problem that Megan is talking about, where you can put in a direct URL, but at that point, it's there's nothing there out of the box that offers you any kind of volume controls. Plus, how does a live stream kind of fit into a playlist? Because it'll obviously never go to the next song because it's constantly kind of live streaming. And yeah, I mean, there's obviously live streaming on a number of other platforms as well, and trying to see if we can try and consolidate things, right? So yeah, there's probably a lot of work to do there. It's something that I'll probably jump into once we've got some of this other stuff out of the way, because it's something I guess I'm pretty passionate about, having built the current YouTube player that we have that's been doing us pretty okay for quite a while, right? Apart from occasional bugs, it's mostly worked. It's mostly reliable. So yeah, I'll be excited to try and take the learnings from that and try and build something that's better. And make that available hopefully in the same way as, something that you can embed into all of your spaces, something that you can hopefully work a bit better with, right? Something that you can use from Unity or from JavaScript or, invoke from anywhere. There's a lot of reasons why we'll want to evolve that as we go into the future. I'm waffling now about video players and such. I mean, who knows, what else I should or could be talking about. Maybe we'll take this moment to highlight our member of the month, Hubber. I guess we're getting to the end of the month pretty soon, so I'm sure Hubber is going to appreciate us not putting the spotlight on him so much next month, right?
Yeah, that's
But,
all right. It's almost
yeah.
over.
That's right. That's right. Not long left. But yeah, so Yeah, maybe I should shorten this event in future. I'm sure that once SDK V2 is out, there's going to be a lot more questions, a lot more activity. So in a couple of weeks, I'm sure we'll have a lot more questions to be answered. But yeah, go ahead, Three-Eyed Tiger. What can I do you for?
I'm so sorry because I only got here about 10 minutes ago. When is V2 scheduled or expected to be out at this time?
I would say within 1 to 2 weeks, we'll probably start sharing it with creators in advance of a more official release. I would say it could take another 1 to 2 weeks, let's say, just to finish out some of the samples and demos that we want to include with SDK v2. But yeah, like I say, we'll make it available to some people in advance of that, just with those parts not ready yet.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So you say character creator, right? Is that what you said?
Character
Or,
controller?
Or yeah, it's just. Are you talking about how the avatars actually interact with objects and the
Yes.
world and physics?
Pretty much. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Exactly that. Yeah, I mean, what we've had to date has basically been mostly an unmodified version of something called Hexabody, right? Which is a character controller, a physics-based character controller that's based on the same one that Boneworks or Bone Lab uses. I think the only major difference with ours is that I made it so that your legs come way up over your head whenever you're sort of, I can't do it in 0G now, but whenever you're crouching, I made your feet basically come right up into your face. So you can all thank me for that. That's the reason that's there. It's the reason why Gorilla Tag mode was ever first introduced, was because of that thing that I changed. And but other than that, it's fairly bare bones. But it's definitely pretty cool to see how when built like this, how the character controllers can allow us to interact with the world around us. And I can only imagine that's going to get more fun and more interesting once we get really into the thick of it and get the flywheel going on building out a new system. But yeah, I think, like I say, there's a lot we like about Hexabody, so there's a lot there we'll want to probably try to keep the same or close to the same, let's say.
Right.
But there'll be a whole lot of new things that we should be able to explore as well. And for those of you that are great at double jump, I don't know. Let's see if you can find out how to do double jump with the new system. I'm
Oh,
sure
no.
We'll figure
it's
it out,
physics
guys. We'll
based.
do it.
So yeah, I'd say by the end of the
Figure
week
it out.
you'll have it something already sorted.
Yeah, we'll get on it.
Yeah, and it's physics based, right? So whatever happens, there's definitely going to be lots of ways to fuck with it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of going to be intentional, right? Because that's our approach to things in general.
I mean, it
But,
looks like fully physics based. Looks like more exercise intensive. Uh, you know, uh, doing gesture. Just like moving your body in real life and moving it into space. Is that correct? Is that sort of?
I mean, it depends, I guess, on what degree you kind of want to lean into that perfect, perfectly accurate physics simulation, right? And the truth is, it's never really possible, especially when dealing with Unity's physics system. PhysX, the problem there is that quite often you end up having to make things very unrealistic in terms of their physical attributes in order for things to work right. Like our character controllers, for instance, I think, if I remember correctly, the combined mass of the character is something like 500 kilograms, right? Which is like way heavier than a human would ever be. But in order to get it to behave generally well and to be able to go up like slopes and to have gravity push it down so it doesn't bounce off and end up spinning mid-air, or to be able to get over like an edge whenever you're kind of walking over something, to get it to be able to roll up over that edge, they've had to kind of tweak and mess with things and make them a bit more unrealistic. Now, I mean, I know that with some of the stuff that Ninso has done, he generally tries to keep things as close to real as possible. But that's also the reason why he understands how often you end up having to bend or break that rule, let's say. But yeah, I mean, it's up to us to decide. You'd be surprised to learn how often physics is leveraged when it comes to a lot of different character controller systems, right? So the person we're talking about, if anybody's familiar with it, but they built the character controller for Assassin's Creed Nexus from scratch. And you know, in a discussion about that, we learned that that was actually also physics based, and that even things like the hands and stuff like that, those were rigid bodies, although the physics part was kind of disabled on them in order to make that a much more, I don't know, controlled, let's say, or you might call it fluid experience, where you know, it's a more premium title, so things have to be a lot more perfected and polished, and that kind of thing, right? Whereas for us, we want to try to achieve some of those convenience things that makes it easier to just generally interact with objects around you, but not to be as strict as that, right? When it comes to how perfect it all needs to be, or as strict as, let's say, Boneworks when it comes to how perfect they want the physics simulation to be at the cost of maybe a little bit of user experience. They kind of lean into, yeah, how physically accurate they can make it. But the truth is, we're mixing physics and networking together in a way that's often very difficult. And the reason that it's easier for us is honestly because we just embrace the jank and don't really care as much about some of the difficulties that introduces. But it does. It definitely introduces difficulties and things that we still need to figure out ourselves to do things like, you know, synced piloting or seat systems where people can sit in cars together and stuff like that.
Right.
All those sorts of things need to take that into account. But yeah, I mean, it's I definitely think there's a sweet spot there. I mean, that's basically what we're trying to lean into is we can have all the cool bells and whistles that all the physics can give us, right? And we get loads of stuff for free, like being able to grab things two-handed, being able to climb things, climb up over onto things, you know, all the Spider-Man and gravity and flight and all that stuff will just all be sort of seamlessly integrated into this kind of multi-level system that involves many different subsystems kind of working together to pull that off. And yeah, I mean, I think that's probably going to be one of the most interesting or complex character controllers in a good way, let's say, compared to a lot of the similar apps that are out there. But then, yeah, we just embrace the jank and try to sync that as best we can, and we get a great personal experience of physics, and we get a nice visual representation of what everybody else is doing in terms of the physics.
About running in place for locomotion, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's something that Nimso has done as well as also the head bob, right? So you're just bobbing your head a little bit, and that can drive maybe running or some extra boost on your locomotion. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting things to experiment with, but I think probably not as you know, big of a priority for us to experiment with as making sure we have the basics down, making sure that we can do the standard artificial locomotion that you would expect to have with the joysticks, making sure we can do teleporting and do teleporting right. In fact, there's something, right? So, I mean, we were talking about this internally, and I guess Bob, coming from more of a Boneworks background, wants things to be a bit more physically accurate and wants things to be maybe a bit more unified and fair at the same time. And he was suggesting a teleport system where your character would actually have to physically walk to that position before you would move. So it would be the same as locomotion instead of instantaneous kind of teleporting like that. I mean, what do you think of something like that?
Like a leap or
Space in your home, I mean, would be a problem.
Well, let's
I would
say
trip
you
over
were to,
boxes.
well, no, let's say you don't move yourself, right? But you cast
okay.
out a teleport line, and then when you let go, it walks, it
Oh.
locomotes your character like a ghost to that point, and then it teleports you, right? So it's like
Oh, sort of like
VR
all the
chat
rest
has
of
this
yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah. And then you can obviously turn that off and just have normal teleportation. I think maybe not. Maybe it's
I haven't
that
seen that
or
in there.
locomotion.
Yeah.
I think it's the default. I mean, maybe not
Is it?
anymore, but for a long time, yeah, the default was that teleport locomotion, and you couldn't.
Oh, is that you zoom through the air and you see the like the fast movement? Is that what it is?
It's kind of, it's like when you teleport, you see your character kind of walk out of your body and walk to the point that you were going
Yeah.
to teleport to, and
I've
then you
never seen
zoom to
that.
that point.
They do it in
once
Half-Life
they're-
Alex as well. There's an option there
Like a
for it.
Yeah.
hologram, or
Oh,
Yeah,
you see
exactly.
your avatar, and then
I mean, I like things instant. You know, I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, but you've got to think about fair as well for the future.
you got to think about it before you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's up for us to weigh up what's important there. You know,
can make
I
it
guess-
space
can we have
optional as well, right?
spaces where
Yeah.
teleport can be enabled, but it doesn't make it possible for people to cheat if it's important to the gamified option, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's a certain space ability that can be turned on or off, like something that's similar to teleport, but not quite, for those that still want to use teleport for, let's say, you know, the benefits it can have when it comes to motion sickness, but not being able to kind of cheat necessarily while doing that.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, we've obviously
I guess-
seen, I think, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, I guess I was just thinking that for use cases for, the running in place or bobbing your head or whatever, I guess you would be using the accelerometer on your Quest to detect that. Exercise, running in VR. You could have races. You could obstacle courses. Just a multitude of things. It would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Do you mean like on a
Like
treadmill
sprint
or
vector.
something then? Like how do you
No,
run
I mean,
faster
just-
than somebody else if you're just running in place?
Well, I mean, the fittest person wins, right?
Sprint Vector does it, where the more
Maybe,
you pump your
yeah.
arms.
Or I'll just grab my headset in my hand and then just move it up and down real quick. And then I'm the
Right.
fittest person. Do you know what I mean? Or I
Yeah,
put my
yeah,
headset
yeah.
on when I'm doing something else that I won't talk about, and then I'm the fittest person or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Or we can have ragdoll avatars that fall over. You have to get
I mean
back up physically.
that's also something that we have been looking at, is other physics-based things like ragdoll and how that could be applied or used by spaces, and the what challenges that will introduce with the other things that we want to achieve as well. I mean, I think there could be a future where a lot of this stuff could be just possible through some sort of a common interface, right? We've talked about things like
Right.
OSC before. Maybe there's a way to pipe that sort of data in to control your avatar's locomotion as much as you can control things like blend shapes on your avatar. So yeah, maybe with something like that, you could jerry rig whatever system together you want that could control your locomotion. But I imagine there would have to be some sort of control implemented into that so that you couldn't use it in any old space, right? You might have to
Mhm.
have the space be able to limit what you can connect up there and what types of devices you can use for that, and at least some things there that the space should be able to control, right? So that you can't do something like what I just described. I don't know. It's a tough one, but I definitely think it's worthwhile. You know, it's something that could make it really cool to try and hook up an AI to a client at some point. If we can have an interface, a programmatic interface to control the locomotion, then we could allow something to control that and be able to kind of move the character around in a way that's. I mean, we talked about this at Tech Waffle yesterday, actually. that you could probably just simulate key input WASD, that kind of stuff, but that a programmatic interface to the locomotion could open up some other cool stuff.
The
So yeah, that's
AI
definitely
living in
possible.
Banter.
Exactly that. God knows what kind of craziness would come out of that. So I'd be interested to see, just for the fuck of it. But yeah, go ahead, Iron Wolf.
Yeah. For a couple of weeks ago, we had a guy on Banterama that was talking about something that no one understood exactly, but I think someone talked to him afterwards and asked about remapping the controllers to whatever you like. So in the 2D option, at least, having so you can remap the controllers.
Sorry, my dogs are going nuts. So you want more information on how to remap controls, or you want to share information on remap controls?
No. Inside Banter, is there going to be a way to remap WSAD or something like that?
Yes, that's a good question. I think the truth of it is that us building in remapping systems into Banter might be a bit redundant. Because these remapping systems pretty much already exist at the platform level, honestly, I think that's the best place for them to exist. I think if you're the sort of person that wants to remap your controls, ideally you can use the same system to do that when you want to do it, right? Something like Steam Big Picture mode, or Steam VR mapped controls, right? Something like that makes way more sense to me than trying to build something like that into Banter, because mostly these kind of things are used by people, I guess, enthusiasts that want to just remap their controls, or people with disabilities that want to, make better use of the control that they have. And in those cases, like I say, it's always better that they can just go to the same system to do that over and over again, rather than having to figure out how to do that in every new game or app that they use. So I think right now, Steam's got a very mature system to do this. Quest has got a very mature system to do this. We'd probably just lean on those rather than try to build out a third system, which honestly probably wouldn't be as mature or as good as theirs anyway. So
Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, no problem. It's a great question. And I loved the dismount. There's just three. Maybe.
Me.
Maybe it was Iron Wolf. Is it Bob?
It was me. I was eating some crisps and I was amazing. Apologies, guys. I was really.
I thought that was
wolfing him down.
impressive how you were able to talk through eating crisps. I thought that was you, Iron Wolf, and I was like, how can you? Is that like you're throwing your voice or something? That's
I truly
that's crazy.
It
apologize.
sounded
Jesus
delicious
Christ.
and very crunchy.
Yes,
Nom, nom,
really
nom.
crunchy.
Get
Yeah,
fucked.
I don't know if you heard as well. My dogs
Layman.
erupted into all sorts of crazy noise there mid-session.
Couldn't
I'm-
hear any of that.
Well, that's good. Awesome. The background noise removal is pretty sick on the Quest 3.
That's what I was hoping for, but it failed. So yeah, again, apologies.
It was too crispy.
I was like, yeah, the
Yeah.
Quest 3 audio cancellation is great. I'm just gonna munch these crisps right now. Thought I was muted
In
anyway. But yeah.
everyone's ear.
Yeah. Apologies.
Well, listen, yeah, we've only got really a few more minutes left of the event, so that's that. But definitely, I encourage you all to stick around for Banter highlights, where Lee has got some really great stuff to kick us off. His song, as I've said, is going to be so edgy this week. We're going to need layers and layers of disclaimers to protect ourselves from it. And yeah, generally, I've been working on, I think, a better process to try and take a lot of the stuff that gets posted to our Discord and collate it together into a video in general. So we've obviously got a segment for event snaps, right? Where a lot of the stuff is kind of coming out of what people have posted in event snaps, and we make that into a video. We've got a segment for Iron's
There's a
memes.
storm
I don't know if you
brewing.
can hear the dogs barking now.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a segment in future to show what cool stuff people have generated using the AI gallery, right? But like I say, one special segment. I don't know if anybody has been talking to Lee over the last couple of weeks. If you have, you've probably heard him talk about some dogs that have been staying in his place. And yeah, we're going to get an update on those and see how they're doing. And we've even got some pictures so you can see what they're like. Now my dogs are all howling. I don't know if you can hear me at all
Yeah,
at
we can
this
hear
point. They're just howling away in the background. They're going crazy. Oh no.
How dare you talk about other dogs?
So it barely rains here, and the one time I put my washing out, it starts to rain today. I'm just like, yeah. And then there's a
Yeah, I got
bloody
thunder
They
massive
go like this, I
thunderstorm.
can stop them.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
have to
we've had
wait
storm
till they get
warnings
finished themselves.
in the northeast. Yeah.
I can't hear anyone else right now. I'm so sorry. I'm going to unmegaphone myself.
It's doing good to block it out, Shane. Don't worry.
Is it? Can you hear it? Is it canceling?
It's,
Is
it's
it canceling it out?
barely there. It's yeah.
Very
Don't worry.
quiet.
I'm sure my crisp munching was worse than your barking there. Sorry.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
was. It actually was.
Fucking blame it on Tommy. How fucking dare you?
I just do one of those big whistles and that eventually shuts them up. But yeah, I don't know if anybody was saying anything to me then. Maybe I'll megaphone again. Yeah, if anybody was saying anything, I don't know if you could hear those, but they were really fucking going for it right there, I tell you. But yeah, I guess the event is going to be over in a moment. So I guess the fun is over. We're going to go back to Earth gravity, folks. Back on your feet.
Pack it up. Let's
That's
go.
it. No more fun. That's it. No bouncing.
What do you mean bounce? Oh, fucking hell. I'm just gonna hide over here now.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, one thing to throw in there while we're at it until the stream is ended. But congratulations to Divine, who won this week's Quest 3. I think we're low key gonna start doing Quest 3 every week. For the foreseeable now as well. We are working on some
Wow.
interesting ways to position some of those quests, so get ready for some scavenger hunts, maybe some ARGs involving things in and out of Banter. Who knows? We can see where that ends up. But yeah, at least for the meantime, tell your friends, right? Tell everybody, people who don't have quests, tell them that they can come here and they can enter to win a Quest 3. And
There's a scarier rabbit every day. It gets scarier
that's right.
every day.
Every single day, the rabbit gets more festive,
That's right.
more scary. Currently in dark mode.
Jackalope, isn't it?
Yep. It's the blank
Always
eyes.
dark mode.
That's what does it. That's what does it for me. But I appreciate the dark mode, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Every app.
It's kind of
Now, is
inverted or
bribing
something, the
enabled
way
for
the
those
tongue
Quest
is.
3s?
Is bribing enabled? Oh, maybe, but
What is
not to me. Maybe the winners. But yeah. Okay, well, look, guys, I'm going to take a breather and go and grab a bite to eat. But I hope to see you all in about 60 minutes for the Banter highlights, which is going to be in Peroxide's great space, the Club Atlas space. So there's honestly loads of great clips. We've got loads of material this week. Like I say, Lee's song is going to set us up. I won't say any more than that. Sorry, Zeppi, you were plugging the late show. Go ahead.
Late shows tonight too as well, right?
Banter late show. That's right. And the after
Yeah,
show.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Just saying, just that.
Yeah, in a few hours from now. That's right.
It's always interesting.
Well, listen,
what's,
yeah, I'm gonna bounce in the meantime, and yeah, I'm sure maybe you guys want to jump into the Crystal Lake. There's 4 or 5 people.
If you want to hang around, guys, I'm going to eat crisps for another 10 minutes, really loudly.
There is that.
I don't see a late show on the menu, but
Nobody said
I might
anything,
even have a
so
drink as well.
clearly
You
You
know,
were
hear
into
all
it.
the glugging.
Thanks, man.
ASMR.
That was good.
Report.
Especially if they're good ones.
Don't
Good,
play with your
good.
doggies. Don't play with your dog.